Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God, the most gracious, most merciful. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, my brothers and sisters, and welcome to this evening's program. You are listening to Radio Mac, broadcasting on 107.1 FM from the heart of Bradford. And I'm your host, Asif Saba, live in the studio. And today we're going to continue our conversation about the symbolic language of the Quran. Before we do that, we give thanks and praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing us to come into your homes to bring you messages of hope, happiness, peace, love, and well being, and that we may remind you of the favors that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed on you. This program is dedicated to exploring the spiritual and the symbolic language of the Quran. The Quran that I use is the Allama Abdullah Yusuf Ali version that has been translated from Arabic to English. And if what I say does not match up exactly with the version of the Quran that you have, it may be that you have got a different edition. It doesn't mean that the Arabic has changed, but it could be the translator who translated it from one language to another, kind of used different words to express certain translations within the Quran. And as you know, the main features of these talks are about what it's like to be a spiritual person living in this physical world. And so I do want to continue with this discussion about the symbolic language of the Quran. Now, the Quran has a language within a language. In other words, sometimes the Quran uses nature to explain spiritual expressions or spiritual growth and development, or what is taking place within you. And so you have to look within your own soul to really get to the amazing spiritual wisdom of the Quran. And so today we are going to continue with the topic on the spiritual language of the Quran. It's symbolic language, it's more metaphysical language. And as we do, inshallah, you will be inspired to read the Qurans yourself, to explore the Qurans, to get excited about wanting to read the Quran, and really get to know not just the Quran, but yourselves through the Quranic wisdom that you find within its verses. And as we explore and reveal to you some of the wisdom behind the words of wisdom, then inshallah you will gain a greater understanding for yourself and for your own personal and spiritual development. And then you will continue to read the glorious Quran and extract the wisdom for yourself so that you can grow spiritually. You can become more than what you were. So the verse, I'm going to read a number of verses out, and as we read the verses out, then I will break the verses down to give you that inner understanding that I've gained through reading the Quran over and over and over and over again. I've read it many, many, many times. Not just one Quran, but I've read various different Qurans just to see the different understandings in which the translator has translated certain words within the Quran, so that I can better understand for myself and my journey through this world. Because we are each on our own spiritual journey, and we may look and experience this world, but even if we don't believe we're on a spiritual journey, we are, because all pathways lead back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's just some people choose to swerve this way, swerve that way, and swerve the other way. And all pathways will eventually lead back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we will learn through our experiences. Because it's our experiences and our pondering about why situations are happening in our everyday life that we learn, that we grow, and that we learn to develop and expand ourselves in awareness. And so the first verse I'm going to look at today is Surah 39, verse 6. So for those people who have been following these programs, do write these verses down. Then you can look at them in your own versions of the Quran, and it will be like a reminder. So make some points about some of the things I'm going to talk about to help you on your journey. And then, sometimes when you write things down, at least you've got it. Because I used to try to rely on my memory, thinking, nah, no problem, I'll remember it. And then 5 minutes after, I'm thinking, what did he say? So it's good to write and make little notes just as memory joggers, so that you don't have to really tap into your memory and it's gone. So it does help when you make these little notes. I mean, even when I was learning and reading the Quran, I would write down so many verses that I wanted to keep because it inspired me and it made me look and, explore. And then I could go back to them and reread them. And then I started categorizing them and putting them also in all sorts of different orders under all sorts of different headings so that I had them all there. And so, as we explore this amazing verse, Surah 39, verse 6, you'll see how it relates to you in a more spiritual way so that you can delve deeper into its wisdom. And then you can make your own mind up about, how it fits into your life. So, what I'll do is I'm going to read the full verse, and then I'm not going to break all of it down because it is an interesting verse, but there's certain aspects that I just want to focus on to help you see and get to know its meaning in a more spiritual way. So this is Surah 39, verse 6. He created you all from a single person, then created of like nature his mate, and he sent down for you 8 head of cattle in pairs. He makes you in the wombs of your mothers in stages, one after another, in 3 veils of darkness. Such is God, your Lord and Cherisher. To him belongs all dominion. There is no God but he. Then how are ye turned away from your true centre? Now, the main points I want to focus on at this point in time is the 3 veils of darkness, because I want to explore that with you in a more spiritual light. And so I will kind of go through the whole verse, but when we come to that section of the verse, I will spend a little bit of time just explaining what the 3 veils of darkness are. And so the first sentence is, He created you all from a single person. And so, as you know, we are spiritual beings living in this physical world. And we were in the hereafter, and we came from the hereafter to a life in this physical world. So we were all created from the same kind of spiritual energy. Then he created like nature his mate. So again, we can look at the understanding that you get from the story of Adam and Eve. And then it goes on to say, and he sent down for you 8 head of cattle in pairs. And so we get the light of our soul, but we also get the darkness of our soul. And as you know, if you listened to the program last week, we spoke about cattle and its expression in ourselves. You know, cattle can be the harmful thoughts that we create, but also the opposite to that is are the loving thoughts that we create. So there is like a symbolic understanding behind that expression of that part of the verse. But the main points I want to give you an understanding about is that he makes you in the wombs of your mothers in stages one after another, in 3 veils of darkness. So we are created in stages in the wombs of our mothers, in stages one after another. So, what are the 3 veils of darkness that we are created? Well, if you think, let me just remind you of a part of a verse that says, "You are born into the base matter that you know." Our base matters are our negative emotions that we experience as we go through this life. And as we experience our challenges, we will experience the darkness of our soul, but we will also experience the light of our soul. Because within us, we have like a polarity where we have light at one end of ourselves and darkness at the other. And the easiest way we can really understand this is when we think about our different mood swings, because we all experience happiness, and then at some time we may experience unhappiness. And so you can see just in that understanding that we don't dwell in the same state of consciousnesses throughout our lives. Our consciousness can shift through different degrees or stations. And that's why we experience happiness and sadness at different points during the day or during the month or during the week, whenever it is. It all depends on the cycle that our soul makes around our polarity. Now, polarity is when you get light at one end and darkness at the other. However, there are many, many degrees in and between these 2 points. So it's like light at the top, darkness at the bottom. And our soul moves through the degrees, just like hot water or cold water. If you fill a sink with either hot water or cold water, if it's hot, you turn the cold tap on and it cools down the hot water. Or if it's too cold, you turn the hot tap on to heat the water up. And the water goes through varying degrees or temperatures, and it moves, it shifts. Well, this is like us moving around our polarity. As more hot or cold water goes into the sink, the temperature changes. As we as we ascend from the base matter into which we are born, and we start to ascend into the light of our soul, you will find we'll go through different mood swings, and the the burdens that we carry become lighter because we are consciously ascending. We are moving upwards. And so this is our soul moving around its polarity. It is ascending. The Quran explains this when it talks about the highest point in your horizon. And in other words, it's saying you ascend to the highest point of where you are, and then you may descend again, at another point in time. And so, as you begin to understand this, you will see how you move through different mood swings, these are your like veils of darkness. Now, what are the overall um, ideas surrounding the three veils of darkness? Well, the first veil are your, let's say, your thoughts. Now, if when you think in a particular way, and let's look at your harmful thoughts for a moment. So just think of the kinds of thoughts you think. And if you think in a negative way or you manifest harmful thoughts, what is that going to do to you? It is going to bring you down because the accumulation of those harmful thoughts turn your soul into darkness. So your certain thoughts that you produce within yourself are one veil of darkness. You know, even though you may produce different thoughts, it is like a veil of darkness that is cast over you because of the harmful thoughts you're thinking. So your thoughts can be a veil. And we'll get on to the light, the opposite to the three veils of darkness in a moment. But let's just focus on giving you an understanding about the three veils of darkness. So your thoughts, when they are harmful, can create a darkness within you. So that those thoughts are like a veil. Another veil that covers you. Now let's look at it. When this verse says, um, he makes you in the wombs of your mothers in stages one after another, in three veils of darkness. So one stage is your thoughts. They create one of the veils. The next one is the accumulation of those thoughts. That becomes negative energy within you. That becomes your negative emotional state of being. So if you think of your negative emotional state of being as veil number two, so you've got your harmful thoughts, which are your first veil. The next veil is your negative emotions or harmful thoughts as they accumulate within you. Now, what happens to you when you think in a negative way and create these harmful thoughts? You become depressed, you become anxious, and all the things connected with depression and anxiety, for example. So, what do you think that does to you? Well, you lose the will to live. So, for those people who have experienced some kind of depression, you will know sometimes it is so hard to get out of bed. Why? Your will to live has gone. So, your willpower is another veil. So, let me just recap on that. You've got your harmful thoughts as one veil. You've got your negative emotional state as another veil. And you've got your lack of willpower. That's another veil. And these exist within you. It's not an outer expression, it's an inner, it's what is going on within your soul. And this is the thing that you have to be aware of, that when you are feeling depressed, you don't want to do anything. You can sit in front of the TV. The TV can be playing one of your favorite movies or whatever it is on the TV. But the thoughts in your mind are not allowing you to connect to that movie. You just sit there, you're watching it, but the overwhelming activity within your mind is overwhelming you. And you can't even move to make a cup of tea, for example. And that's just an example, but for those people who are experiencing depression, that is a reality. You become stuck wherever you are and you cannot move. you've lost, in a sense, the will to live because of what is going on in your mind. So those three veils that are covering you and your growth and development, they are covering you like a, a veil. It's like a veil of darkness that is surrounding you and hemming you in so that you cannot move. That those are the three veils of darkness because you can, and when you are feeling depressed, you cannot move, you cannot think beyond the harmful thoughts of depression that you're experiencing. It is so hard to see beyond the mood or how you are feeling at that point in time. And so those three things are the things that cover you. Now, as you know, when you think a negative thought, it creates a dark spot on your soul. And the more negative thoughts you think, the more dark spots will accumulate within yourself, within your soul, turning you from a beautiful being of light to a, I don't want to say the word being of darkness, it's a depression. It puts you into a depression where your spiritual self changes because we are we are spiritual beings. We have come into this world to experience what it's like to be a human being. And as you know, for those people who continually read the Quran, you'll be aware of this verse. If I can find the exact verse, I will. I'll have a look at my notes and things, but I haven't written it down to give you at the moment. But the verse that talks about how you are born into the base matter that you know. And this is this you experience this base matter as the three veils of darkness that shape you in the womb. Just like the Surah 39 verse 6 says. So be aware of the three veils of darkness and how they are working. And when you are not feeling 100% or you are aware of your mood swings, know that it's your soul moving around your own polarity. Because the person next to you, they can be in a great mood, but you can be sat there and have the worst headache, be in the worst mood possible. But it's all about where you are dwelling consciously. And these three veils of darkness are connected to your spiritual journey and your soul and where your soul is at any time. And so, we are coming up for a quick commercial break, but after the commercial break, we will come back to the three veils of light because everything has an opposite. And so, as we look at the three veils of light, do stick around because we will discuss the three veils of light, and you'll be surprised at what the three veils of light are. But just think about the three veils of darkness and what I've just explained to you, and then um, you'll get to understand the three veils of light. And then at least when you are experiencing the darkness of your own soul, at least you'll have some tools, you'll have some understanding about what you are going through, and then you'll be able to start assessing where you are and then using your understanding to help you to bring into yourself the three veils of light to lighten and brighten your spiritual self, which will change the vibrations of your spiritual self, and your consciousness will start to ascend back up into a better place than where it was. But we are coming up for a commercial break, and after the commercial break, inshallah, we'll be back. So, today we're talking about the three veils of darkness, and we're going to, next, after this commercial break, we're going to look at the three veils of light to give you a balance and understanding about what they are. So just give me a moment. I've just got to go and do something. One, two, 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, just making sure all the microphones and everything are working properly. But I hope you're enjoying this program. Assalamu alaikum, Isaac again. I hope you're doing well. Things are going good over here. If that's Isa, whose dad's Tariq, may Allah bless you, keep you safe, and I hope you're doing well. And give my salams to Tariq and Niged, and Adam. Can't forget Adam. I hope you're all doing well, inshallah. And hello to everybody. Sorry, I can't always respond because this is a live program. So I do have to sometimes keep going because it's a live radio program. And that light is in the wrong place. Or maybe my camera's in the wrong place actually. Let's see if we can maybe get that so it's not getting that light in there. Just 1 second. It's kind of in the wrong place really. Get my bits of paper out the way. Let's see if that's a better place. And maybe that's a little bit better. Yeah, I'd say that's a little bit better. That light in the background is kind of quite bright. I'll leave it there, should be fine. So hi to you, hi to everyone, and I hope you're all doing well and things are going good for you all. Anyway, I just want to see if I can find a verse actually. Almost forgot. Good. I found the verse I'm looking for, so I feel good. Sometimes I can't find what I'm looking for, and you just have to kind of take it as it's there in the Quran. Anyway, just 1 second. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, my brothers and sisters, and welcome back. You are listening to Radio Mac, broadcasting on 107.1 FM. And I'm your host, Asif Saba, in the studio. And today we're talking again about the symbolic nature of the Quran. And I found a verse that I was looking for, to my surprise as well. Sometimes I've got that much stuff here with verses all over the place, but I've actually found the verse I wanted to just give you an understanding. So if you read Surah 70, verse 39, and it says this: By no means, for we have created them out of the base matter they know. So again, when you think about Surah 39, verse 6, that talks about he makes you in the wombs of your mothers in stages one after another in three veils of darkness. Well, base matter and these three veils of darkness, when you put them together and think about what they mean and how they are related to each other, that's when you begin to get an understanding. So, Surah 70, verse 39: By no means, for we have created them out of the base matter they know. So, this is showing you that when you are born, a part of you is born into your own base matter, your own darkness. And it exists only within you, because somebody next to you, or even if you get 100 people all together, you know, you will each experience different feelings and thoughts and ideas according to where you are consciously dwelling. And we're not all dwelling within the same degrees of thought activity. There are so many differences between us and variations. And so, if you link Surah 70, verse 39, and Surah 39, verse 6, and think about the um, three veils of darkness and the base matter into which you are born, they do link together to give you an understanding. And so, what are the three veils of light? Well, the three veils of light are pretty much the same, however, there are small differences. And as you begin to compare what I said just before the commercial break and what I'm going to talk about now, you will begin to make a comparison between, yes, now that is understandable. So, what are the three veils of light? Because all things have an opposite, and you have a darkness, you also have a light. And how can you use the three veils of light to help you to ascend and disperse your own inner darkness? Well, the three veils of light are your thoughts, feelings, and your willpower. So let's just have a look at that. So two of them are pretty similar or pretty much the same, but it's one of them that is different. So your negative emotions are emotions, but feelings are greater than emotions. So you have, think of how you feel when you are happy, when it's a nice sunny day. Like today, for example, about 12 o'clock or something like that, it was raining a little bit. It came down and it started raining here in Bradford. And so as the rain came down, if you were outside and got caught up in it, what are your thoughts at that particular point in time? Well, you're going, I hate the rain, this, that, and the other. And you want to rush, get out of it, but your thoughts change because of the weather situation, and you don't want to get wet. I mean, luckily, I was actually inside, and I was looking out the window thinking, oh, I want to go into city centre today and do a bit of shopping and get some things organised. Anyway, as I was looking out the window, a young child, a mother and child, walked down the road. Now, the young boy, he must have been about, ooh, I don't know, maybe 4. So the mother picked the child up and she was carrying the child. The child was crying because the rain was coming down, the child was getting wet. The mother had wrapped her headscarf all around the child to try keep the child dry. However, the child was crying because it didn't want to get wet. And so, the mother was kind of really walking quite fast. And then somebody else was with her and they were she was pushing a push chair. And so the weather had an effect that made the child unhappy. And imagine the kinds of thoughts that child was having. Anyway, um, regarding the weather. But later, but the rain only lasted for about 5 minutes maybe or something. It was a short, wet period. Anyway, it brightened up. Now, come, I went into town. Come about about 3:30, 4 o'clock. The weather brightened up, and it was great. It was like the sun was shining, and it was quite warm. And so, your mood will change. You'll feel better. And so, see how you attach yourself to your emotions when you're not happy, and when you are happy, you feel better. So your feelings kick in. So your emotions and your feelings are different. Your emotions are working on a higher vibration than your negative emotions. However, in between there, you do have some intelligent emotions, but um, when you think about it, the thoughts that are produced when you're feeling your negative emotions are different from when you are feeling happy. Just like the child when it was getting soaking wet in the rain and it was crying. You know, so when you're happy, you have beautiful, happy thoughts that raises your soul's vibration. And just like when you think harmful thoughts, it creates a dark spot on your soul. When you think happy, loving thoughts, that creates a light spot on your soul. And you become happy, you become radiant. And that is the difference. So, your thoughts are a veil of light to you. By thinking happy thoughts, um, you move your consciousness towards your feelings because you feel happy. And so, in place of emotions, feelings start to kick in. Feelings start to arise within you, and they create better thoughts than the negative emotions. And so, we also have willpower. Now, you think about what happens to your willpower when you feel happy. You want to get up and go, not sit there in depression. So we are coming up for the Maghrib Azan. So after the Azan, we'll come back and continue looking at the symbolic language of the Quran. So yeah, the azan is coming up just at this point in time. So just give me a moment. One, two, one, two. One, two. Yeah, just testing the microphones. But yeah, I hope you're all doing well and everything is going well for you. I'm in the studio of Radio Mac and doing a live kind of broadcast. And so we're talking about the symbolic language of the Quran. And so when you realize how amazing the Quran is, how it's got a language within a language, the Quran uses nature to explain spiritual truths. But those spiritual truths are not external to you. It's all about how you are growing, how your soul is developing. And this is what it's all about. You've got to look at it in terms of your soul's development and how that relates, how the verses and the wisdom of the Quran relates to the development of your soul. And it's so easy to always relate the verses of the Quran to the external world and say, oh, right, when it's talking about nature, and I know I keep repeating myself, but I really want you to remember this point about how the Quran uses nature to explain spiritual truths. But when you grasp that understanding, when you begin to understand how the Quran uses nature to explain spiritual truths, and then you start to apply the growth in nature to your own personal growth and development, that's when you start to see so much more in the wisdom of the Quran. And so, bear that in mind when we are talking about uh, the symbolic language of the Quran. Because it will help you. Anyway, I just have to wait for a moment. So I hope this understanding is helping you, so that when you do read the Quran, you relate it in the way I'm explaining it to you, so that you can. It's like delving. It's like this. The Quran is an ocean. The verses are the top of the ocean, and to really understand them, you have to kind of dive down a little bit and see what's underneath. If you never deep dive into the sea, you would never know that there were millions of fish underneath. And it's the same. If you never look underneath the verses of the Quran, you will never know what is there. It's like there'll always be a mystery in your life. And so you have to do a dive down and see beneath the surface. So it's important that you look at the verses and think about what they mean to you. Just waiting for these commercials to finish. Oh, it's the Azan actually. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, my brothers and sisters, and welcome back. You are listening to Radio Mac, broadcasting on 107.1 FM from the heart of Bradford. And I'm your host, Asif Saba, in the studio today talking about the symbolic language of the Quran. And, if you think about it, the Quran and its wisdom, they are like a great ocean, and the verses are like the top of the ocean. And if you never ever swim underneath the verses, you will never know what is there. Just like if you were to never say, if you go swimming into the seaside or something, or even if you just go to a normal pool, if you never take a deep breath and go under the water, how do you know what's there? Okay, you can look from it from above, but let's look at the sea, for example. If you never ever um, get some snorkels and some goggles and you dive underneath the sea, how do you know what's there? And I'm sure you've seen some of these amazing marine life programs where people go into the sea with their cameras and all that stuff, and they photograph all the different fish underneath the sea. Well, if you never ever, or if someone never dived down there, then we would never know what is there. And the Quran is the same. The verses are the top of the sea. They are like your introduction to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's wisdom. However, you have to sometimes dive down underneath the many layers of wisdom contained within the verses and really get to know what's underneath. And so, by understanding how the Quran relates to yourself, you have to think about the use of nature within the Quran, because the Quran does use nature to explain to you in a symbolic way the growth and development of your soul or of yourself, because you take that wisdom and you apply it to yourself, and then it grows within you, and then you can use that wisdom to weed out the growth that you do not need and replant new thoughts and new ideas into your soul, into yourself, that will allow you to ascend and rise out of the base matter into which you are born. Just like what Surah 70, verse 39 is saying, by no means, for we have created them out of the base matter they know. So as you dive down under the wisdom that you find within the Quran and start applying it to yourself, and then you understand the symbolic language of the Quran as it uses nature to explain the growth and development of your soul, that is when you can apply that wisdom to yourself, and you turn the three veils of darkness, your thoughts, your emotions, and especially your negative emotions, and your willpower, you can turn it around. And instead of there being the three veils of darkness, you transform it into three veils of light, which are, again, your thoughts are like the trigger, then your feelings. So when I talk about feelings of love, you feel different when you are having feelings of love. Then you manifest different thoughts when you are expressing love to when you are expressing anger and hatred and harmful thoughts. So with the three veils of light, they are your thought processes again, your feelings of love, and how you feel not emotionally, how you feel in terms of your willpower. Because when you are happy, you want to get up and go. You don't want to be sitting at home or hiding away anywhere. You feel energized. So you want to get up, you want to get out, you want to explore life, you want to learn, you want to push yourself forward as you come up struggling for yourself, which again is another verse from the glorious wisdom of the Quran when it says, each soul must come up struggling for itself. And so this is one way where when you are feeling unhappy, you dive down into the darkness of your soul, and it is for you to turn that around and strive and introduce feelings, introduce better thought processes, and that will increase your willpower to live rather than allowing depression to hold you back, which creates certain kinds of thoughts, which again connects to your negative energy, your negative thoughts, your negative emotions, and of course you feel zapped of energy. There's no energy there, and so you just want to sit. You could be watching TV, but you're not really watching TV because you're so busy in your own mind. And it could be that you can't even get out of bed because of the way you are emotionally feeling, because you are drained. There's no energy there, and you just don't want to move. So, can you see now the difference between the three veils of darkness, which are connected your thoughts, your negative emotions, and your willpower, to the three veils of light, which are your thoughts again. However, you use feelings, which changes your willpower because you want to get up and go. And so we are coming up for a quick commercial break. And after the commercial break, we'll be back to start to look at well, we'll continue with this verse because we haven't completed it yet, inshallah. So yeah, these commercials are going quite quick, but inshallah we'll get there. It won't be a moment. So wow, it takes it out of me sometimes, this talk, because I get so into it. And it's a matter of making sure I link everything together that I want to link together to give you an understanding to help you on your journey. Anyway, yeah, we're just on a commercial break again because we had the azan, we had a commercial break, then we had the azan, and then we had another commercial break. So we're into the last half an hour. I just want to have a quick look here. Just checking my information just to make sure um, it's all there, ready to go. So, yeah, just taking a little bit of a break, a bit of a breather before the commercial break finishes. Just while I kind of gather my thoughts a little bit as well. Kind of helps me. Just got to keep my eye out for when the commercials come to an end. And I've still got a lot of stuff to bring to you yet, even regarding the symbolic language of the Quran. Anyway, thank you for all those people who dropped in. I hope you're enjoying the shows, the programs. I do my best. Oh, thought that was the commercial break coming to an end then. Took me by surprise, but I think I've got another one yet. Anyway, just 1 second. So, commercial. We're on the last one now, so we'll continue. Oh, where am I? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, my brothers and sisters, and welcome back. You're listening to Radio Mac, broadcasting on 107.1 FM from the heart of Bradford, and I'm your host, Asif live in the studio. And today we're talking, well, we kind of just covered one verse, really. The verse, well, we've had a few verses, but the main one is Surah 39, verse 6, that talks about how he makes you in the wombs of your mothers in stages one after another, in three veils of darkness. That's part of Surah 39, verse 6. And so we were looking at these three veils of darkness, but also I gave you an explanation about the three veils of light. So, like everything has an opposite. And if you are feeling or if you are experiencing um, the darkness of your own soul, then why not use, instead of allowing your emotions to overwhelm you, connect to your feelings and allow your feelings to create beautiful thoughts within yourself. And I know it's hard, it's easy to say, but it's not as easy to do. But unless I mention it, hopefully, inshallah, it will give you something to at least hold on to and strive for and aim for. So, as you learn to transform your emotions into feelings, you will experience a new kind of calmness that drifts over you, and your thought patterns will change. Your willpower will increase because you are now connecting to your feelings of love, and they are lightening and brightening your spiritual self. Because we look at ourselves, and we all have mirrors in the house, or we all see ourselves in some kind of reflection at some point. So we associate who we are just to this physical body, and we forget that we are spiritual people, spiritual beings that have come into this world from the hereafter to experience what it's like to be a human being, to experience this worldly life, and to get to know ourselves, to grow and develop ourselves as we come up struggling for ourselves, because we are born into the base matter that we know, which I mentioned. Was it Surah 70, verse 39, which talks about how we are born into the base matter that we know, or for we have created them out of the base matter they know, which is our negative emotions. So it is our job to elevate our consciousnesses. And the beautiful thing about this world is that we experience it, and we can look at who we are becoming in a safe environment within our own mind. And as we explore who we are and who we have become, this is when we really get to know ourselves. And then we can make assessments and understand ourselves. This isn't a matter of judging others, it's all about you, all about where you are on your spiritual journey. No matter what you're doing in this world, it is still a journey of spiritual enlightenment. You know, some people take a longer way home. Some people they want to take the quickest way home. So they start to look at who they are becoming. And through us each getting to know our own selves, we can then work on ourselves because we all know what's going on within ourselves. We cannot lie to ourselves. Just like if we were to be dishonest, we know what we're doing, but we make a choice. And if we don't want to be dishonest anymore, what do? We make a choice to not be dishonest, to speak our truth, but do it in a loving way. It's not a matter of saying, I'm a man, I speak my mind, and then starting to curse and swear at everybody, and say, well, that might be your mind, but it doesn't mean everybody has the same mind as that. And because some people choose not to curse and swear, it doesn't make them any lesser than somebody who chooses to curse and swear. Maybe the person who chooses not to curse and swear has got a more beautiful connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the person who chooses to curse and swear, maybe it's because there are degrees in their connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that they're not aware of. And so the person who doesn't swear is aware of that connection, and so makes a choice about not using such language, even though we all know the swear words, but it comes down to a choice. And some people say, well, I speak my mind, or I have no filter. Well, they everybody does have a filter. People have filters. People pretend they don't have a filter because if you were to, for example, I mean, it's the very odd person might not have a filter, but majority of people do. And if you were to walk into a playground with all little kids, you don't start screaming and cursing and swearing. Why? Because you have applied a filter. Because you don't want to bring that language into a particular area where there are young, vulnerable children. So we do have filters, but then just because somebody is 18 or over or a little bit older, it doesn't mean we should all of a sudden start cursing and swearing. So apply that which is good for your soul, because this is, again, you will reap what you sow. And for those people who choose to bring down their soul to a lower vibration, well, they will have to one day undo all that darkness that they themselves have created. And so this is why you should always strive to the light of your soul and not dwell around in the lower levels of creation, creating darkness and saying, on the pretense, I don't have a filter, or this is who I am, I'm a man, or whatever it is, and proceed to curse and swear. So, unless we change, unless we work on ourselves, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to step in and wave some kind of magic wand. We have to do it ourselves, just like Surah 13, verse 11. Part of that verse explains Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to change the condition of a people until they change it themselves with their own souls, with your own thoughts. And so by learning to understand your three veils of darkness, which are your negative emotions, your thoughts as a result of those negative emotions, and your lack of willpower, and you transform that into feelings of love, the thoughts that, um, you know, what love means to you will create much better thoughts, because they'll be thoughts like compassion, piety, love, joy, happiness, peace, tranquility, all those kinds of things. And then that will make you feel better when you practice those things, and so you are led by your feelings of love rather than your emotions of harmful thoughts. So allow yourself to consciously ascend. And as you know, I can't find the verse that says how each soul must come up struggling for itself. You have the ability within yourself to raise your consciousness and enter into the light of your soul. Ascend consciously and know you are ascending consciously. It is within you. You have that ability, and nobody can do it for you, because you get a room of 100 people. Each person will have their own thoughts, their own worries, their own trials, their own tests, their own everything. Some people will make better choices than other people, but we are all here in this world on our own journey back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you decide to delay your journey because you decide to swerve, then that's up to you. But your feelings of love are your best opportunity to find the right guidance. And ask yourself, what does love mean to you? And then explore all the ideas that come into your mind regarding the expression and your feelings of love. And then you'll see a big difference. You don't want to dwell in the darkness of your soul and become depressed and anxious so that you can't even get out of bed in the morning, or you can't even get out of your settee, or you may be watching TV or whatever you are doing, but you're not really watching it. It's just noise in the background amongst all the thoughts that you're thinking. So see how it works. See how the understanding you get from He makes you in the wombs of your mothers in stages one after another in three veils of darkness. So it is your task to explore the Quran, to learn wisdom from the Quran, so that you can consciously ascend and raise yourself up into the light, and you come up from your negative emotions through the harmful thoughts, and you can consciously ascend by using your feelings, because your feelings are operating on a different level to your negative emotions. And it's through your feelings and the expression of love in your life that you will manifest certain kinds of thoughts that will lighten and brighten your soul, so that you feel better. So that you feel better. And that is you coming up from the base matter into which you are born, through the degrees of conscious awareness, to a state of conscious awareness, or a state of mind where you feel better. Alhamdulillah. And that is where you want to be. And that is what your journey is about. It's about learning to come up struggling for yourself on your journey, and letting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be your guide through your feelings of love, because love creates a beautiful set of thoughts within you that are like little candles, and they burn and become activated and become bright within you, and you then become a light in the darkness, because your soul, your energy is vibrating with light and filling with light. And this is what love does to you. It raises you up as you come up struggling for yourself. And then you will feel better. Your thoughts of love will create beautiful feelings, or your feelings will create beautiful thoughts, and you will feel like you want to live your life. You won't feel depressed. You won't feel anxious. That will disappear, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sustained you. He has raised you up through your feelings, through your striving to be the best version of yourself. And as you ascend, you will change. And this is how the changes can take place. And this is how the world will change. We must change. But as long as we start thinking in terms of them and us, then life will carry on the way it is, and it will get worse as we become worse. And so let yourself grow, let yourself develop. And it's through the little changes we make, because unity is so important. And we do need to stop this backbiting and bickering and practicing envy and selfishness. We have to let that go so that we can unite, so that we can come together, so that we can stop hating somebody just because they come from a different place. Just think about the final sermon of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that we are all human beings, and within us is the light. And hatred is something that we choose to learn. It's not a part of our spiritual self. We come to this world, we forget that we are spiritual beings living in this physical world, and we turn towards hate, anger, and violence instead of love, trust, and truth. So allow yourself to express love. Become the best, because through the expression of love, what do you think will happen to you? Your character will change. You will become the best version of yourself. Your character will become energized. The things that you do in your life are a result of the character that you choose to let manifest in this world. And so this is why when you read the Quran, there is so much information on character building. And how do you build the best possible character? Through the expression of love. Because then, as you express love, the life before you will change. You will change. Because you will see life, you will see other people in a loving way. And that's how change takes place. But as long as you're manifesting harmful thoughts, then you will see life according to those thoughts, and you will see life in a harmful way, and you'll be aggressive. You won't care. You'll curse. You'll swear. You'll do whatever you think without paying attention to who you are becoming. And then before you know it, the door to that kind of thought process will be very hard to close. And you will have to one day make that effort to close that door. So why not close it before it gets to the stage where you think to yourself, I say what I think. I don't have a filter. But you do have a filter. And you need to care for your soul. Because for those who have listened to these programs that I do, I've spoken to what happens to you after you pass away from this physical world. The character that you have become follows you into the next world. And there are so many verses that talk about like being joined with like in the hereafter. And also, it explains other things like how hell is a place of ambush. Think about it. If you go to a place according to your character that you have created, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't create this character that you express. You chose to manifest certain thoughts that created this character. So you will go to a station in the hereafter that vibrates according to your character. And so this is why it is so important. This is why the Quran explains character building and gives you information so that you become the best character you can become. And you hold back on the harmful thoughts. You defeat the harmful thoughts using Quranic wisdom, because it's all in the Quran and it's there for you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed the Quran to come into this world. The Quran came into this world through the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as a gift to you to help you on your journey. And so, isn't it worth reading it and putting away these harmful thoughts so that you can grow and develop and bring out of yourself the best character? And look at maybe reducing some of the language that some people use. Try switching it for a different word until that word becomes a part of you and the worser word disappears. And slowly you can correct everything that you've done in the past. And then you will come up struggling for yourself. You will grow, and you will grow in awareness, because now you're seeing a different picture. You're having a different vision, and it's growing within you and allowing you to change. So we are coming to the end of this program. So inshallah, I may have a guest on Sunday, so we will see. It hasn't been quite confirmed, but if you're listening to the Sunday evening program, I'll be on between 7 and 9. I may have a guest. If they show up, then we'll have a discussion. It'll be a different one, but inshallah, the following Wednesday, this time next week, we'll return to the symbolic language of the Quran, because I've got more to talk about on it. So, Khurafis, Jazakallah from myself, Asif Saba, in the studio of Radio Mac. Wow. So I hope you enjoyed the program. Khrafis from myself, Asif Saba. May Allah bless you and keep you all safe. And I hope you have a great evening. Khrafis. Just got to turn off a few things here.